Well, let's bring in our friend. Travis Winfield is with us this morning, our favorite veteran. Travis, what part of your business is in the veteran community?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's I retired from the Navy 7 years ago, and this year I actually rebranded my real estate team to the MORE Group, which stands for, as you can see over my head, Military Operated Real Estate Group. So actually, everything we do is devoted to giving back to veterans and specialize in that field.
I thought that you were one of the that was where you heavily were, was in the veteran space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that we've talked about on the program before is that, in my opinion, the military doesn't do our veterans a great does an injustice to them in not giving as much financial education as the men and women deserve heading out the door. And they don't really know what their veteran entitlement is. I've talked to so many that think, okay, well, I'm going to go rent a house or lease a property. And my comment is, it costs you more to start a lease than it does to buy your own house. Do you find the same thing?
Oh man. Oh my gosh. It's what I literally go door to door with. And it's not just the military, for the record. It's actually our youth in general. I mean, there's
That's
only
true.
7 states in the entire country that teach any kind of financial health in some kind of high school. So I just happen to focus on the military because that is where, I spent more than half my life there. But yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of amazing things in the military, but one of the things we're not the best at is teaching financial health. And so I literally go door to door. I teach a class every month called Military Money and More, where we actually teach all the basics, right? Like how to build a budget, how to get and maintain good credit, how to invest, not just in real estate, but stocks, bonds. We talk about like crypto and NFTs, all different facets, just to help these military folks actually learn how to build wealth while on active duty.
I missed the last part. While they're in active duty or after post-active duty?
While they're on active duty. So I focus on the active duty component because look, to your point, there is incredible resources and benefits out there serving our military, both active and those who get out, but there's no marketing budget to tell them they exist. So one of my things is I go door to door just trying to pass off all the benefits that really help them. And that's what makes me a specialist in this field.
Well, I think it's a great service because so many of them, none of, and you're right, it starts in the schools. The schools do, in my opinion, a very, very poor job now. I don't think any one of my 3 boys were ever told what a mortgage is, how to pay it, what a credit card is, what an amortization table looks like. So where are they getting that stuff? So it's great that you're out there, it's almost like a postgraduate education is what you're giving.
It feels like it.
Do they have any? Do you have to start really, really basic, or do they have any foundational knowledge?
I tell people when they start my class that I'm going to teach them just enough to get themselves in trouble. But it's a good stepping stone because you'd be shocked at what you don't know. I could even tell you this: after 24 years in the military myself, when I retired, I could tell you I feel like I've been drinking through a fire hose when it comes to financial health and just the things that you just almost feel like you're in a bubble when you're in the military. That they tell you this when you're in the military. They say, hey, if you want a budget, go see your command financial specialist. The command financial specialist gets a 2-week training at the Fleet Family Service Center, who is being taught by people who get paid minimum wage. So for me, that's kind of like the blind leading the blind, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, and it's great that you have somebody that's been real successful, post-military, in the military, but post-military as well, going out there and sharing that knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm passionate about.
So how long is your course, Travis?
It's only about an hour. It can go to an hour and a half, depending on number of questions, but it's been a phenomenal success. The foundation that I've done it through, I'm on the board of directors for a non-for-profit called the Enlisted Leadership Foundation. And we teach leadership and financial health to active duty military. It started with just leadership, right? And the really thing that makes us different is when we teach leadership to active duty military, it's not just military members teaching leadership. We actually bring CEOs of civilian corporations so that our military members can get kind of a blend, more tools in their toolbox for leadership. And then I brought to the table the financial health piece because I saw it was such a missing component on even our leadership. I mean, our leaders, I know admirals and generals who can't rub 2 nickels together. That's a problem in my eyes.
Sure. Yeah. Well, because, and again, I only speak secondhand, but from the men and women that I speak to, you're used to being told everything to do from sunrise to sunset. And when it comes to something that's outside that box, where are you going to get that education?
Right.
So it's wonderful that you're doing it. Now you have an event coming up. What, next month is when you're coming back to them again?
Well, you talking about my financial health class?
Right.
Yeah. So I teach that online virtually every month, normally the last Tuesday of every month. So the next one is the 23rd of January, I believe, at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And, again, it's just a link. You can get on Zoom and join in. And it's just, it doesn't cost a thing. It's just something I'm passionate about because, my day job, if you will, is the More Group. But this is my philanthropic endeavor, just to kind of help people get across that threshold because, gosh, man, this country, we're so embedded on a debt-based society. And there's the difference between good debt and bad debt, right? Like mortgages are, in my opinion, a good debt, right? Because it's an appreciating asset that you're borrowing money and leveraging OPM, as we call other people's money. Whereas alternatively, I try to teach people to shy away from the rotational credit cards, like, the rotational credits, like credit cards you're paying like minimum payments on and you're paying interest only. Those, in my opinion, are bad debt.
Sure. It's what got us in the big trouble in 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
People took mortgages to buy a car or a boat or a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not what the mortgage is intended for.
No.
Take a mortgage and go buy a rental property.
Well, the 2008 crash was also the fact that we did those, the subprime loans that we had nothing to verify. I mean, that quite frankly, those strippers out there getting loans for $2 million and they were making cash and they couldn't pay it off. So they were doing this stated income loans that unfortunately, when they can't pay it off, that's what ran into this. And that's where a big part of that crisis came from.
Well, it's good that you're out there educating the folks so that they have a good idea of, I'm a big believer that if you hide these things, hide the cause of what happened in 2007, well, you're going to have a problem. You're going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're out there telling these folks, okay, this is what caused that problem, there's going to be people that put their head in the sand and it's going to happen again for them.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you can navigate that and kind of push that back on some other folks. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. More with Travis Winfield when we come back. Continue our conversation. Travis Winfield is with us. The More Group is the name of the company. He is our favorite veteran military advisor. I guess we can't call you a military realtor because you go way more than that, Travis. You're out there educating a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like I said, when everybody finds their niche in life. And, after spending more than half my life in the military, I've now seen where our shortfalls. And so I just feel like my calling is to fill in those gaps where, what the military can't do. And the financial piece of it is just huge, in my opinion.
I think it'd be wonderful. I wonder what would happen if you're doing one of your Zooms and, you've got someone that's relatively newly enlisted, and then you've got an admiral that comes on and saying, I want to learn this stuff too. I think that would be.
Believe it or not, I actually had the most recent Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy came to one of my class a few months ago. And afterwards, he's a friend of mine now, and we got to talking. And, this is the most senior enlisted guy in the Navy, right? And he said afterwards, like, Travis, we really need to get this briefed at like the highest level because, right now the military, a lot of people don't realize the military changed their retirement plan. So now when you join the military, it's no longer you get a retirement when you first get out and retire. You have to wait. It's like a 401k now. You got to wait until like age 57 to collect your retirement. So, and they're giving these young people options to opt in or opt out. So unfortunately, I feel like we're kind of just kicked that can down the road, and we're going to be heading in for a major financial disaster for our veterans when they retire because they're not going to have anything to like hold back, land on. So as the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy said, he's like, we really need to get ahead of this and start teaching earlier in their careers.
So are they? The other question that would come up though is that then are the military men and women getting paid enough to? Because you always hear that they're the last ones on the totem pole getting paid. They'll give raises to everybody and their uncle, but the men and women that allow us to be free, are they giving them the funding? I mean, if you take away the retirement early, then you say, okay, put money into a retirement account. Well, where's that money coming from?
Right. Well, you know, I think honestly, I mean, I'm not a politician, and I don't claim to be. I don't claim to be, but I mean, obviously, some kind of money saving tool went into this when it came to our budget. And I personally, you know, it's not just the military for that record. I think all first responders are sorely underpaid, whether it be the military, police officers, first responders, teachers. Like, these are the foundation of our society, and we pay them peanuts. So, you know, it's don't get me on my soapbox with
that. Okay. So where will these folks go? You know, I've got to believe that from what you're sharing, you know, you're doing a 1-hour seminar on something that I think I spent maybe 2 or 3 years in college studying.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the next step from them for after they get this taste from you?
Well, I encourage them. I connect them with people. I connect them with financial advisors, CPAs. I connect them with. I have an attorney that helps with disability benefits. So insurance professionals. So I have this core group of professionals that are also veterans in their own right and can help support this this endeavor that we're having. But like I said, it's just one of those things. Like, if we could save one person, you were kind of going down a good road. What can be worried about down the road is, we already have a humongous veteran homeless population. Now, imagine you spend your entire career carrying a weapon, and your only skill set in life is to kill people, right? I mean, I'm just going to call it how it is. And then now the Navy says, or the military says, okay, your time in our military is done. And now you get out, and now you have to wait essentially another decade and a half before you get any kind of pay and there's no transferable skills, right? You know, you can't go get a job at, you know, at Merrill Lynch when you only know how to, you know, carry a gun. So we're heading for, I think, a really big military homeless population or influx in the next 10 to 15 years.
Wow, that's startling, because you don't really, you know, you hear those things, but you're so correct, because, you know, I mean, I've got some friends that have got some really, really good jobs based on the skill set that they learned in the military.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in electronics and areas like that. But, you know, that's not the average, right? That's not the masses.
No, it's not.
And we've got to, you know, we owe it to the men and women of the military to give them these transferable skills. And you would think that there would be, you know, and again, I'm just speaking out from my own thought process, having not ever served. But, you know, I got to devote a little bit of time, you know, especially as people are getting ready to get out of the military, to help them and solve this problem.
I agree. I mean, remember this: we are the land of the free because of the brave.
Absolutely.
And we tend to forget that. And time heals all. Let's be real. The reason why that the retirement plan has changed and all these things are being cut is because time heals all, right? You know, what happened after World War II? We had a massive boom, really supported our vets and everything coming home. Then, of course, we had the unpopular war of Vietnam, and that's just an unfortunate time in our history. And I think people will always look back on that, almost embarrassed at how we treated our vets. And now we've gone the opposite way. We were doing a lot of great things, but now it's been over 20 years since 9/11. And people now are starting to forget and get numb about that. But mark my words, the minute we have another major conflict that affects American lives, it's going to come back. But it's unfortunate it takes something like a major conflict to bring out people's remembrance on who actually defends this country.
Yeah, and you're so spot on, Travis, because that is exactly it. And I think, you know, we need to devote more time in our schools to learning these things, and to, you know, now in this day and age of technology, it's not that hard to, you know, get video of what happened, and you know, the results of those things, and even to this day, I mean, you look and see. Last week I saw some footage that they're looking at making it easier to go through airports than it's been. Well, why did the TSA get started? Why did it get so strong? Well, it's because some idiots decided that it was too simple, and, you know, killed thousands of Americans.
Well, you know, when I was in the Navy, I was actually a master anti-terrorism specialist. That was literally my job field for a while in the Navy. And I can tell you that that's such a true statement there, Ron, because, you know, remember, the bad guys we have to be right every single time. And people forget that. We get so critical when something happens, but they forget that we have to be right every single time. The bad guys only have to be right once. A lot of people don't realize, you know, that the USS Cole bombing, do you know that was the second, or actually, I believe the third attempt? They actually launched a boat out to another destroyer that came into Yemen, but they was so overladen with explosive that it sunk before it could get there. And that's not classified. That's public knowledge, but that's not something that's well taught about. You know, they only talk about, oh, well, they didn't pay attention and it hit them. No, you understand, we were lackadaisical at the time because we didn't know better. And
sure.
They only have to be right once.
Yeah, they've got the odds for them are a whole lot better. And you know something, it's really special that you're out doing what you're doing to try and help, you know, as people are getting ready to retire or, you know, living their life. You know, someone like yourself, 20 years or what did you say,
24, yeah.
24 years in the military. You know, that's statistically, that's a quarter of your life, more than a quarter of your life, 30% of your life, right? So you have to understand how to build your retirement, build your wealth, build, you know, for your family, take care of kids. All those things are required during that time period. And I'm guessing the vast majority of the men and women that go into the military are not going there following college.
Correct.
Right? They're not going, and nowadays, some of, you know, our schools are not always graduating the most educated of individuals. So where's that going to happen? And it's really wonderful that you're out there at least giving people a taste of this. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. Continue our conversation. Travis Winfield is with us. Let's talk. We've been talking about finance. We've been talking about education. Let's talk about real estate, Travis. Sometimes we even get away from our core discussions here.
Right.
Because we get on tangents. I've been known to go down certain rabbit trails.
I am too, my friend.
But, you know, there was a big change in the veterans loans about a year or two ago. And now veterans can actually buy a property of any value with no down payment. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. They changed that, I think, 3 or 4 years ago where they lifted the loan limit. There's now, you know, you have the conforming loan rates, but now with the Veterans Administration, they lifted that. So as long as you can qualify for the amount you want to borrow, you can borrow 100% financing for a $5 million home as long as you have the income to justify it, which is huge. Now, the only challenge is if you have another home, there's a thing called the certificate of eligibility. I can go down this rabbit hole a lot, man. But as long as you have not bought a home or do not currently own a home using the VA home loan, you can buy as big of a house you want.
You know, one of the things that chews my craw, many things there, but, you know, you talk about the folks that say, well, the VA home loan, there's no down payment required on it. You can make a down payment, but there's no down payment required. And then I hear various agents, and this must get you especially as being a realtor and real estate agent. They say, well, they don't have any skin in the game. And my comment is they've got more skin than anybody.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big proponent. One of my captains back in the day told me, if the baby's ugly, call it ugly. And the ugly part about our industry is that we're riddled with the agents that unfortunately get into this industry for the wrong reasons. And sometimes they start mouthing off about stuff they don't understand. My very first realtor, when I bought a home from Italy, was this back in the short sale days, kept steering me away from short sales. Why? Because he didn't understand it. I ended up getting a new realtor and I ended up buying a home that was on a short sale. And guess what? I got a great deal on it, because you need to have agents that really immerse themselves with the market and understand different strategies so that they can really do some serious house hacking based on the current market strategies, right? You know, back in 2007, finding a good short sale was great. Well, then that kind of dissipated over time. Same with foreclosures. I get people calling me, hey, I'd like to buy a foreclosure. Well, I'm sorry, this is not the market for that. What this is a market for is loan assumptions, if you know how to navigate it. Like, we've not been in a situation to do loan assumptions. And remember, any government loan is assumable, whether it be FHA or VA. So a lot of people don't realize that you can assume that crazy low rate from a seller. But you got to know what you're getting into. You have to be able to bridge the gap between the sale price and what the loan amount is. You have to, there's a lot of different strategies in that, but it's something that a lot of people don't realize that are out there in an option.
What about those that wanting to buy? The comment I hear is, well, you can't have two homes with VA loans, especially when you're in an active military.
That is a complete myth. As a matter of fact, you can buy a house if you bought, it just depends on the values, right? Because if you have one already, like let's say you bought a house in Podunk, Mississippi for like 100 grand. Yes, it's still possible down in certain areas. And you bought that house, then you moved to San Diego, where now the loan limit is going to be in play. Well, loan limit in San Diego is like 900K, isn't it right now? Over 900. So you could literally say and still have like $800,000 roughly to buy a second home on the same certificate of eligibility.
Yeah, and so that's a key component right there that so many people are missing. Just because, I mean, I've heard some folks say, well, I don't want to use up my opportunity, so I'm not going to buy anything while I'm active because I might use up my opportunity.
Your opportunity. And that's, again, a huge myth, right? As a matter of fact, you can use it as many times as you want. And once you get out, you actually don't, as long as you have some kind of disability rating, you do not have to pay that VA funding fee that gets tacked on the loan while you're on active duty. Go figure, right? While you're on active duty, you got to pay the VA funding fee. But once you get out, you don't, as long as you get some kind of disability rating. So I also want to plug that. If you are a veteran and gotten out of the military and you have not filed for the disability rating that you deserve, that you earned, you're missing out on a lot of benefits that go along with that.
Well, that was something you made a comment on in your seminar, that you said you have someone that helps navigate that area as well, didn't you?
Absolutely. I have an attorney who literally spent time in the Air Force. Then she was actually doing the ratings for the Veterans Administration, and she saw too many of our brothers and sisters getting screwed over. So she went and got her law degree, and her entire practice is there to fight for the ratings for our veterans that they deserve.
And that could be a lot of money too when you're talking about. I think the funding fee first use is a little over 3%, I believe.
First use is 2.3%. Second use is 3.4%, I think, something around there.
Okay, I had them backwards. Okay,
yeah.
So, but if you can get that rating that you've earned, I mean, it's not like you're getting something for nothing.
Correct. Yeah, and you can get that waived. And then, and let's talk real quickly too, because I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but let's talk too about like this current market, the media. I heard you talk at the beginning of the thing that, sometimes we poke holes in the media. I love your dialogue because it's so true. Everybody's talking that right now is the sky is falling. Oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end. You shouldn't buy, you shouldn't sell. And that's why we've lost 30 to 40% of the overall sales. But here's the facts. The fact is, you're right. Right now, sellers are sitting on their homes because they're sitting on crazy low interest rates. Buyers aren't buying because we're sitting at crazy high interest rates. But are we? A lot of people don't realize the last time we had a major inflationary period was 1979 during the Carter administration. 2 years later, in 1981, do you know what the highest recorded interest rate was in 1981?
Not for the year, I don't, but I bought my first house in 83, so I know what it was around then. That was like 18%.
19.1% was the highest recorded interest rate. So now imagine we've hit the peak, I think, at 8%. But people don't realize that actually between 5 and 7% is actually the historic normal for mortgages. So I tell people right now, I'm going to wait until the interest rates drop. Well, you can do that, but do it at your own peril, because here's what's going to happen. Do you remember what it was like to try to buy a home in 2021? It was like the Hunger Games. Well, guess what's going to happen? The minute you start seeing a 5 regularly in front of it, we're tapping close to that right now, right? We're at 6.2%. The minute you start seeing a regular 5 in front of it, all these buyers that have been sitting on the sidelines waiting are now going to flood the market with, as you already pointed out, crazy, incredibly low inventory. So now you're going to be back to the Hunger Games, where you're going to have to be able to get an offer accepted. You're going to have to offer like 50 to 100,000 over list price just to get your home accepted. Right now, we're in more of a balanced market, so it's a little easier. So I tell people all the time, as long as you can afford the mortgage payment right now, go for it.
Yeah, because, well, here's the issue that I've shared, Travis, and I'm sure you're sharing the same thing, is you can renegotiate the interest rate, called a refinance, down the road.
Yes.
You cannot renegotiate the purchase price down the road.
No, you cannot. And right now, you actually have a little bit of leverage, because there's only an average of, like you said, 1 to 2 offers on any home. You have a little more leverage with the seller to ask for concessions, to ask for maybe closing costs, to even actually get the seller to buy down the rate. Like right now, I believe even you can offer, if you have a seller buy down the rate, you could actually get into the 4s right now.
Sure.
Right. So,
yep.
And that's something that, if done right with the proper agent to negotiate for you, that's a reasonable thing that we could possibly do right now, is to get the seller to buy down that rate, so you can get it and maybe even pay some of your closing costs.
There's a lot of strategies that can be used when you know what you're doing and you've got experienced people on your team.
Yes.
That's the bottom line right there. And experienced people are generally not going to be the ones that you're going to find, your best friend's dog catcher's mother who just got a license because it was easy and wanted to save on commission.
Yes.
Think about that. I mean, I just pulled it up, Travis, because I know that you're out. I just looked in Temecula. So you got a median home price, a listing price of $889,000. So just assuming a 5% commission, you got about a $44,000-$45,000 commissions in there. Mm-hmm. So people are going out there, I want to save that money. But at what cost? Mm-hmm. The cost is over the next 30 years, it might cost you hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because you wanted to save a couple dollars right now. If you want some great information, give me a call. I'll put you in touch with Travis. If you're military, that's his world. He speaks that all day, every day. Be happy to put you in touch with Travis Winfield and his team. If you have an interest in getting on his mailing list to join his Zoom call for financial literacy, again, give me a call at 800-306-1990. I know where to find him. We'll get you on that list as well.